When I was only 17, I was handed my father's flag after he, an Army veteran, died of cancer. I was an only child. My mother was in the hospital battling cancer herself at the same time. Therefore, the flag was handed to me. I remember that moment like it was yesterday. The flag, the gun volley, the playing of taps. Nine days after losing my father, I was back in the same chapel. My mother lost her battle with cancer. I was an orphan. I had a lot of relatives, friends, and neighbors supporting me, but when you're 17 and lose both of your parents, it's a pretty lonely place. I made a promise to my parents. I miss you, I love you, and I'll make you proud. I'll make you proud. That became my purpose. It kept me going when I wanted to give up. In reflecting on my journey since then, for the past 35 years, it became my leadership model. Purpose, resilience, opportunity, understanding, and drive. That's my proud acronym. After losing my parents, I set my sights on the United States Air Force Academy. I read everything I could find at the library, wrote letters, sent those little return postcards back in, and devoured as much information as I could. This was long before the internet. I kept my grades up, was involved in extracurricular activities, and my cousin got me involved with community service for the first time. My purpose was to go to the Air Force Academy. My purpose was to make them proud. One day I pulled in the driveway and saw a large envelope sticking out of the mailbox from the United States Air Force Academy. I knew bad news did not come in large folders. Congratulations. On behalf of the superintendent, it is my pleasure to announce your appointment to the United States Air Force Academy as a member of the class of 1995. That's all I read. I screamed and jumped around the house. I looked up at my parents' picture on the wall and yelled, "We did it!" I called my aunt, who was my guardian at the time, and told anyone else who would listen. It was the best moment of my life. The next 4 years were a series of highs and lows. The academy was hard. At different times, I struggled with military training, academics, and physical fitness, all three of the main pillars. But I was determined. My purpose now was to graduate. Our class motto was "Keep the Pride 95." For me, that was a nod to the promise I made to my parents and another sign that I was in the right place. Daniel Pink considers purpose one of the three main components of intrinsic motivation. If you really take the time to think about it, I hope you can find your purpose. An easy place to start is with the Japanese concept of ikigai. What do you enjoy? What are you good at? And what can you get paid for? Your purpose is the fire that fuels your engine. It keeps you going when times are tough, and it's your long-term goal. It's the feeling that you are part of something much larger than yourself. Paulo Coelho in The Alchemist said, "When you want something, all the universe conspires to help you achieve it." This is a great example of knowing your purpose and following it. Your purpose can and likely will change throughout your life. Mine certainly has, as I've achieved my goals, set new ones, celebrated significant milestones, such as getting married, having our children. Building a successful life that provides for my wife and our two boys is my purpose now. Resilience is a person's ability to bounce back from something. Your ability to get knocked down, get back up, dust yourself off, and keep going. It's a mindset that allows us to overcome challenges and maintain focus. It can be built up in small doses over time, or as in my case, one large tragic event that alters the course of your life. Losing both my parents, essentially at once, and finding my own way in the world was that event. But for me, it was a benchmark, a standard. Compared to that, I could overcome any obstacle thrown at me. Nothing compared to what I went through that summer. As a cadet, when I was getting yelled at for my lack of military knowledge, failing to memorize a quote, not remembering a significant day in Air Force history or something like that, or when I was placed on academic probation and had to change my major, I knew I'd been through something much harder, and I had the strength to find a way through and persevere. I never thought of giving up. In a sense, I felt there was no home to go back to. I felt like I'd burn the bridges, burn the boats, whatever the saying is. You will face setbacks along your journey. Resilience is your ability to bounce back, to face adversity and keep moving forward towards your purpose. You will face challenging times, personally and professionally. We heard some already yesterday and this morning. Job cuts, downsizing, personal tragedies, loss of a friend or family member. All of these require a resilient leader with the ability to inspire, motivate, and guide their team or family to keep moving forward, however small, whatever it looks like in the moment. I was recently asked how I overcame such a difficult time. My response was that looking back, at the time, I didn't know what else to do. I just modeled the work ethic I learned from my parents. Maybe I was on autopilot for a while. There were times I asked, why me? Why did this happen to me? Or, this isn't fair. I thought that quite a bit. This is not fair. But I never thought about giving up. I was going to persevere in spite of the difficulty, perhaps because of it. I never lost sight of my purpose. The harder it got, the more I fought to emerge successfully. Wayne Gretzky said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That's a great mantra in life. When an opportunity presents itself, take it. Your boss is looking for a volunteer to lead a team, to run a new project. Raise your hand, volunteer. Some opportunities come through practice, rehearsal, and mastery. As a young officer, I was a very visual learner. So I made a brain book. It had the schematics of all the major power, water, gas systems associated with our space launch facility at Cape Canaveral, Florida. During one rehearsal, critical purge gases were not flowing to the rocket the way they were supposed to. By sharing my schematics with the team, we were able to identify a misconfigured valve, fix it, and continue the operation. You likely will not know when an opportunity is going to present itself. But by being trained, ready, and an expert in your field, you'll ensure that you're prepared when that time comes. There's safety and comfort in the status quo, but with opportunity and a little risk comes growth, learning, possibility that there's something bigger that you don't see in yourself, but others do. Throughout my career, I've benefited from several of these opportunities. Some that I volunteered for, and some that I was recommended for. I was honored to be an aide-de-camp to a 2-star general, a position I did not apply for. A colleague recommended me for that opportunity. It was an incredible year of growth and exposed me to meetings and conversations I never would have participated in as a young 03 maintenance officer. It was also the experience that I needed to open other doors, including being selected for an Air Force-funded master's degree and the opportunity to return to the Air Force Academy and lead cadets. It kind of felt like a full circle moment for me. This was my first introduction to coaching concepts, which was foundational to how I would lead in future assignments and led to my post-Air Force career and what I'm doing now. Ask yourself, is your reputation one such that people will mention your name in a positive light and recommend you for opportunities when you're not in the room? Several years later, I was working in the Pentagon. I was asked to be the next chief of the Director's Action Group for a 3-star general. It was a fast-paced, dynamic assignment which challenged me and enabled incredible growth in my ability to lead peers, as well as lead those that outranked me a little bit, all to accomplish the director's vision. Opportunities are not always easy to spot ahead of time, but leadership development occurs in every opportunity. There are several sayings that I associate with being open to opportunities. When there's a fork in the road, take it. When the situation is obscure, attack. Being open to opportunities means taking a risk or trying something new. Let's talk about listening a little bit. When you listen, do you listen to reply or listen to understand? I never really thought about how I listened. Once I was exposed to the concept, I realized that I listened to respond. When someone would say something to me, bring a problem, ask me a question, as soon as I thought I had enough information, my mind was processing. My mind was coming up with the answer, coming up with the response, and I stopped listening. You miss the whole back half of what they're saying. After being educated on the difference, I now listen to understand. That means listening from a position of openness and curiosity, open to learning the other speaker's positions and point of view, and curious enough to get to the root of their concerns. As Ted Lasso says, be curious, not judgmental. This served me well later in my Air Force career, when by applying these concepts, I truly began to understand how maintenance, the career field I was in, impacted other organizations on base, and how they impacted our abilities and our limitations. Most importantly, through this understanding and communication with my peers, we were able to truly work together to make the mission more effective. In my coaching practice, listening to understand is vital to getting beyond superficial conversations and getting to the root of client concerns. The other type of understanding is understanding yourself through self-reflection and feedback from others. This may be the toughest. Looking in the mirror and being honest about what we see, and inviting honest, sometimes critical feedback from those who know us best. It exposes our blind spots. It doesn't feel good. And we may find that what we think we are portraying is not what others are perceiving. This too requires openness and curiosity without judgment or defensiveness. Finally, none of this happens without drive. Drive is the insatiable need to improve, to be better than yesterday. Nothing is given. It is earned through hard work, reputation, and past accomplishments. Together with everything else we've talked about, it is the drive that'll make you successful. Drive turns hopes and dreams into actions and results. Drive is what pushed me to become an entrepreneur. Being a solo entrepreneur, as many of you know, requires steadfast dedication, resilience to keep going despite the unanswered calls, unreturned emails, and the no's that we receive. It's believing in yourself and your purpose. We know the stats about how hard it is to start and sustain a small business, but yet we come back day after day. I think these traits are a large reason why so many veterans and military spouses become entrepreneurs. Bringing it back to Dan Pink, we are intrinsically motivated with a desire for autonomy, a mastery of our craft, and a desire for that sense of purpose. The same framework applies not just to leading yourself, but to leading your team or an organization as well. As a leader, you set the vision for your team. You create goals, OKRs, and align your team members' purpose to the purpose of the organization. As a leader, you build resilience into that organization. That can take many forms: succession planning, redundant systems, workforce cross-utilization. How does your team recover from setbacks? Do they learn from failure and innovate? How do you encourage that innovation? How do you build their organizational resilience? How open are you to seizing opportunities? How much risk do you accept when searching for new business or expanding product lines? Do you understand each of your team members, your peers, your boss, your customers? What are their strengths, weaknesses, desires, and goals? Finally, what drives the individuals on your team? Collectively, what drives your organization to compete, win, and grow? Knowing this allows you to help them succeed. Finally, what drives your customers? How can you help them succeed? People have asked me how I got to where I am today, with everything that was stacked against me as a teenager. It was knowing my purpose and having the drive to attain it that kept me moving forward, no matter the obstacle that was in my way. By being a proud leader, you too will be unstoppable. When we zoom back out and put it all together, this is what it looks like. The foundation, the bedrock of everything, is trust. There must be trust among members of your organization, family, or office. Without trust, you cannot build effective relationships. The product of all this is individual and organizational excellence. That's what we all strive for, isn't it? Day in and day out. Here's my contact information. Please connect with me. And if this presentation was meaningful to you, or you think someone else would benefit from hearing it, please let me know. I'd like to thank Ryan, Henry, and the VETSOCIAL Summit team for this opportunity.